All right, in today's podcast, I sit down with Dorian Rodrigues. This guy's in Toronto, Canada. He's a top sales agent. And get this, he's only 28 years old and he's selling top multi-million dollar listings. Take a listen. So Dorian, thanks for joining us on the podcast. I'm excited to talk about your real estate career. For everyone that doesn't know what marketplace you service, where are you right now?
I'm in Toronto.
Toronto, Canada.
Exactly. I'm in Canada. That's right. I forgot, man. Yes, Toronto, Canada.
And are you originally from Toronto?
Yeah, so I grew up just about 40 minutes outside of the actual city. And then about 8 years ago, I ended up moving downtown and been living here ever since.
And you got started in the real estate industry how long ago?
8 years. So when I was 20 years old, I started in the industry. And come my birthday, I'll be about 9 years in the business.
So you're not even 30 years old and you're a top producing sales agent in Toronto, Canada. What made you get into real estate at the ripe old age of 20?
You're gonna love this one. So I had first off, I was in school for business, right? I loved all aspects of business, the finance side, the marketing side, I guess the organizational behavior side, because somehow that really intrigued me. And then what I figured out was, I go to the gym. I was always talking to people all the time. And my trainer, his wife was actually a broker owner of a brokerage firm. And he was like, you know what? Everyone always talks about you when you're not here in a positive light. You're literally like the golden boy in the gym. He said, why don't you get into real estate? And at that point, the only thing that I've ever thought about real estate was watching, $1 Million Listing, New York. I never gave it a thought. So I sat down with her and, she kind of gave me an idea about the business and, that the fact it has marketing, finance, you have to work with people's different behaviors and tendencies. It seemed to fit my mold perfectly. So ever since then, I got hooked.
Did you stay in school while you were doing your real estate career, or did you drop out?
Nope, I stayed in school. I ended up getting my degree at the same time. To me, that was very important. I think it's also nice to have that education in the background as well. I think it adds a little bit of credibility, especially for being 20 years old in the industry. Your credibility isn't as high. But at the end of the day, I think it just adds a different layer to me as a person.
What was your degree in?
Business. It was business commerce, which is essentially all finance, marketing. It's like an overview of business in general.
Okay. So you graduated when you were 21, 22 years old?
Yeah, it would have been 21.
Okay. So while you're doing your university studies, you're also learning the real estate business. How did you do that? Did you join a team or brokerage, your friend's wife's brokerage?
Yeah, so I ended up joining her brokerage and kind of, went in. So for example, if I had classes, because classes, when you get to your fourth year, you can kind of pick and choose your times. So the times I wasn't at school, I was there learning. And then I also had another job just to supplement, my lifestyle and try to start the saving process. But I basically learned from her. She taught me a substantial amount. And then the day I graduated, the next day I went straight into the office and started off the career.
Wow. And when you first got started, were you working with buyers or sellers?
It was a mix of both. I always started with a mix of both. It was funny. Like she helped me, understand the buyer aspect. And then, I didn't get my first listing for, let's call it 3 months, because funny enough, my mother referred me her friend. So that was my first ever listing, which is awesome. So I learned the ropes through kind of understanding the buyer's aspect first, and then the sellers. But I really ultimately from day one have been very seller focused, because I've always been taught you list to last in our industry. And that's been a mentality that I've really tried to carry forward.
And I know you deal with more the luxury side of the industry. Did you start on the luxury, or did you start at a lower price point?
I started at a lower price point. I think when you're first starting out, it's important. Like I was even back in the day, I was even doing leases as well. because I think it's good at the end of the day, to build a business, and you would know this, you have an extraordinary business. You can't just start day one selling $10 million houses. Like, I don't think that's really the smart way to do it, because one, you lack experience, and two, you lack the knowledge. So I started doing leases. Then I started focusing on any buyers and sellers I could get. I don't care if you came to me for a $400,000 condo or a $2 million house. I wanted to make sure you were taken care of either way. As time progressed, getting the price points higher and higher became more in my line sight and what I wanted to focus on. But I was very fortunate enough where, I had a mentor that really gave me the opportunity to work on some big listings. And then ever since then, I kind of just kept the ball rolling.
So it was a conscious decision to up your average price point.
Absolutely.
And using a mentor was important to that. What were some other key ingredients to get to the higher price point?
Being seen is very important. And what I mean by that is, like, I used to leverage money in order to be in the right places. So I would go to a gym that, typically has a lot of doctors, lawyers, financial individuals. So I wanted to always be around those people and understand them and understand how they think, how they move, where they live. And, the more you're seen, the more the real estate conversation gets brought up. So that was very important for me. And then another big focus that people don't often talk about, but I think is truly important, is social media. So on social media, like, yes, I still today sell houses under $1 million, but you'll never see it on my social media, because that is not the brand and the target audience that I'm, trying to go after. Doesn't mean we don't help them. I love helping. I don't care what clients, if you're buying a $400,000 condo or more, I want to make sure I'm doing the best job for you. But as someone who doesn't know me and looking at my social media for the first time, I want their initial thought to be, okay, this guy services some high-end listings in high-end neighborhoods. Maybe we should give him a call.
Dorian, what kind of skills did you have to acquire as a real estate agent to service the higher price points?
I think demeanor was a big one for me that I struggled with. I was always very wiry. I had a lot of energy. And listen, energy is amazing, but energy, for when you're dealing at those price points, you need a focused energy as opposed to like a chaotic one. So my demeanor, also the language I spoke to them in, everything has to be very refined, very professional, and very to their level. And truthfully, that became the biggest focus, was more focusing on me internally as opposed to anything else, because I know the market. The market is something that if you're a realtor, you should know. But I think focusing on things that you can control of your personality that were different than them, you start to, adjust yourself, and then you become almost similar to them.
Did you acquire any new hobbies or take on golf or anything that a lot of our luxury clients tend to spend their free time or they're interested in?
You know what? I always had a passion for the more finer things in life, to be honest with you. Believe it or not, I just do. I love my wine. I love my art. I love my clothing. Like, I really enjoy that. But no, I mean, golf I was always interested in. It ended up working out where, the interests I really, and my passions aligned with those individuals. So it was really easy. And I know a lot of people may think it's very curated on how, my likes are very similar, but the reality is I think people have to focus on what you actually enjoy and what you're passionate about, because then the people know it's organic. It's not forced. And you know how it is. Like, if it feels forced, then it's not going to be a right fit. You'll never jive.
Yeah, we have agents on our team that definitely deal in luxury, but they're surfers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're literally showing properties in board shorts and a cap, right? And you wouldn't know it by your standards of luxury. I'm sure you have a jacket on, maybe wearing a tie, definitely a collared shirt. But in our area, a golf polo shirt, board shorts, you could be selling $1 million houses doing that.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone has, this is why I love the industry, right? Everyone has such a unique take to their style of selling, right? Some people focus heavily on the, appearance. Some people just heavily focus on the, the lead generating with regards to like going to golf clubs, maybe surfing with some high-end buyers. Like, these are things that everyone can curate based on your personality. I know you're familiar with New York, but like my personality is very much New York driven, right? Very, go, 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 wear a suit every day, wear a tie if you're going to big pitches. It's what I enjoy. So I just try to be organically me.
Yeah. Okay, so you tend to work more with sellers. You
Mhm.
concentrate on high-end listings. What have you seen in your real estate market in Toronto
Mhm.
handling listings in the last 6 months?
So I would probably say before January 15th, the market was much slower. Inventory was low, but it also was sitting because it wasn't the greatest product that was out there. Ever since, let's say, 15th onwards, the market has really, really ramped up. And more recently, we've done deals at like I recently just sold a place for 4 million bucks in 3 days, right? So things are really amping up, and I think it's because the consumer confidence is much higher, knowing that the future rate drops are coming, and when they do come, typically lower rates equals higher prices. So they're trying to get ahead of the curve.
A lot of our clients come from Canada, the majority from the United States. We tend to
Mhm.
watch the United States mortgage interest rates. What's happening in Canada?
So right now they're holding. Tomorrow's another interest rate announcement. So we're kind of going to see what's going to happen. But as much as the rates that they give you out there, it's not actually all reality. Like if you have a good connection with a mortgage broker, you could buy down the rate a little bit and get a more affordable rate. Um, but if I was someone out there looking at this current economic climate that we're sitting in, I think it's a wonderful time to get in that market and really take advantage of it because in what happens in Toronto is let's say they announce the rate drop tomorrow, right? For the first 2 weeks it'll stay flat, but call it a month to 2 months after, that's when you start seeing the pop. Because it takes some time for the consumers in Toronto to really digest the information and reanalyze the numbers before they get back into the market.
You talked about social media being a big part of your business, the image. How do you leverage social media in your business?
I wish I did it better. Well, I think that's for sure. Honestly, for me, I just leverage. I use it as an online business card. I'm
Okay.
not one of those agents that generates a substantial amount of leads on social media. I think what it does is it really reinforces my brand, and that's what I focus on. If I meet you, for example, let's say you move to Toronto and I meet you for the first time, the common thing that people do is they go on Instagram, you become Instagram friends, and you start DMing. Um, that's how you'll really get to know me and my personal interest, and you can see that based on my social media, I'm pretty much working all the time. But you get to know me, and I think that's for me more important, and that's how I leverage it to meet new people, but also to keep the people that are already fans of me and people that I really really love, keep them all together.
Dorian, do you run a team or are you just a solo agent out there?
I run a team now.
So how big is the team?
So right now we have two team members. I have a third partner that services Kleinberg, which is my north of the city, another office that I am a partner of. So you could call him part of the team as well. But underneath me, just on my current team, is two people, and they both have different experience, and they both have characteristics that are wonderful. They're just very different, which I like. I want them to be a little different than I am, so they could service a wider array of clients.
Has your 8 year real estate career been always going up, or have you seen dips in your real estate career year to year?
Yeah, you know what? It's been pretty like the trajectory has been fairly straightforward, and which is knock on wood, that's amazing. But I think it's more mental dips, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that for people that are listening is, you may have had a better year, but it may have been harder on your mental state. You may have had to work a lot longer. You may have had 15 deals fall through that at the end of the year you won't see the income on, but you know that you had those deals done and they just fell through. Um, so yes, I've had those years where the income, continued to rise, but you lost a lot more deals. But I think it's just part of our business. Like I don't think you'll ever have a perfect year. I don't think there's such thing.
So how do you stay ahead of that curve, especially on the mental letdowns, even though financially you might be at par or making more money.
Mhm.
Because the mental thing is that's where I think people don't realize in our business how taxing it is on us mentally. How do you stay on?
100%.
How do you stay yourself?
So yeah, so there's a couple of things I do. And then I'd love to hear your answer on this because I always love learning what you would do, right? Honestly, for what I do two things. One, around the summertime, to stay clear-minded, I golf as much as I possibly can. That little break allows me to completely clear my mind from the business, focus on another passion that I do have, and it allows me to get back to the office the next day fresh, ready to go. And then the other thing, which I also tell the team, is I learned this from Ryan Serhant, but it's
Mhm.
something that really stuck to me: is keep as many balls as you can in the air, because if one drops, you're not focused on that one big drop. You're focused on the other 10, 15 you have in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's staying active physically. So staying, exercising, doing personal time. So morning routines are
Mhm.
really important. And afternoon, evening routines are important. So I bookend my days so that it's not involved in the chaos or as much as the chaos. So no cell phone. And also, I just got
Smart.
back on vacation. So much like your golf trips, going on vacation, spending time away from the business as much as possible. I
Mhm.
think because of the cell phone, we're never truly detached, but we're detached a lot more when we're physically not in the environment. And so,
100%. And is there something you because I'd love to know this. Is there something you specifically do at night? Because I have a hard time sleeping.
yeah,
It's been a I'm just not a big sleeper. So I'd love to know, is there something you do at night that really, in your mind, gets your next day really flowing from when you wake up?
yeah. I'm big into biohacking, and so what I
Okay.
have been doing recently, and I do it. I was doing it in the mornings, is um, infrared sauna.
Oh,
So,
okay.
infrared sauna, sweat, but if you do it in the evening, take a shower, you're like exhausted. And that helps sleep a lot. In the mornings, I always do an ice bath. And that gets my
Got
day
it.
going. I'm supercharged. And because I have the same problem or had the same problem. I had a hard time sleeping, or it was very interrupted sleep. I would be super tired by the end of the day, but then I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is racing. It's going, it's going, it's going. And you're only 28 years old. So I'm 48. And it's much different when you're in your 40s to um, burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And so even for me, a couple of years ago, I had some health issues because of that. So I had to slow down, really get my sleep right, and calm my mind in the morning,
Mhm.
in the evening. So the sauna helps, meditation helps a lot, breathing exercise.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you do that, but it does wonders.
Amazing. So that sounds like something I need to start looking into for sure. I you know what, I think for me, very much like you, the brain doesn't stop. Like I dream about deals at night. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I wake up having such vivid dreams, like I pretty much didn't sleep. So you know what, I also think I'm at that point in my career, in my life, where I'm always going to have that because my ambitions are so big, right? And I think, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to understand the importance of not slowing down, because I don't think I'll ever slow down. But I think the understanding of, when I'm on that golf course for 4 hours, no phone.
Right.
And unless you're on an active deal, just no phone and just be present. That's something I've really been focusing on.
That's huge. I walk my dogs in the morning and in the afternoon, and my cell phone is always with me. And something simple as just leaving the cell phone at home, even for 20 minutes, it does something to you mentally that you don't feel connected. You're physically not attached to it. And it makes a big difference. And something that also in our business, we're always tracking the numbers like, okay, how many tours did I go on? How many deals did I
Yeah.
do? What's my sales volume? What's my GCI? What's my profit? What was it last year? But if you track your health, your sleep, your stress, and you're able to quantify it And with the health apps that are available and the smartwatches and the Aura rings or the whatchamacallit, the Fitbits and all that stuff, you can have all the data in front of you and you just make real smart decisions as a result.
Yeah, you know what I use? Have you ever heard of the Whoop?
The Whoop, yeah. Never had one, but
I swear by it. It's incredible. I mean, the problem is I love data. Like I love looking at, like, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is go on the Whoop and be like, okay, Dorian, you slept, 40 minutes of REM sleep. That's a problem. That's probably not good. So maybe tomorrow night try sleeping and another 30 minutes of deep sleep. So I like it. I think it's very important for our business because you're go, 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 go. And the problem is with our business, it's not a problem. It's an amazing thing. It's we're in front of people all day.
yeah.
So if you have high energy today and then tomorrow you're like down, it throws off the client. That's not what you want. So I've been really consciously thinking about that, and even thinking about the caffeine intake. And it's been good, honestly. I'm very happy. Now I just got to get on the sleeping train.
So you say you're ambitious. It's clear that you're ambitious. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I really see myself having a team, probably 25 to 30 members. I do want a large team. And I want to really just focus on the business I want to personally focus on while growing the individuals around me. I think as a team lead, seeing team members make more money than you is something to strive for, not something to be upset about. I think when you have the ability to help the people around you and make them better, not only in business, but personally, I think there's so much gratitude and pride that comes with it. And I think in 10 years, that'll be a step in my career I really want to focus on. But don't get me wrong, I plan on being number one in Toronto, but that is something I want to do.
How many agents are in Toronto?
Oh God, 65,000 maybe, 85,000. I don't know. It's a huge number.
So you want to be number one in Toronto?
That's my goal. Yes.
Are you with a franchise or a big brokerage?
No, I guess now it would be, we have 6 offices, but no, it would be considered more of like a boutique style setup.
All right. And that's where you started, or it's your...
No, it'd be my 3rd office.
Uh-huh.
I was at the one I told you about, where my trainer's wife, I went to her office, which was individual small company. Then I went to Remax for 6 months. Huh? And then I moved down to the city and joined this office. So I've been here for 7.5 years.
Okay, so advice to a new agent in the business. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to a new agent to be successful?
Go to the office every day, follow a real schedule. Being around other individuals talking about real estate will inherently make you more money. And find a mentor or a team. I think if you did all 3 of those things, you're going to have an incredible start. Because what I failed to realize in the first 6 months of my career is every day you can wake up and do whatever you want. You're your own business, right? Which is amazing to some extent, but it's also very challenging because you can get carried away. So what you really have to focus on is, like for myself, I'm at the office at 7 to 7:30 every morning. And don't get me wrong, I'm out of the office by 3. But if I have showings at night, I'll go do showings. But having that structure that I follow is something that I find very important because it makes me feel like I'm running a real business. So that's what I would recommend to new agents.
Okay, cool. Have you been to Cabo before?
I have not. I need to go though. I'd like a 10.
All right, so we're going to be doing an event in November. I'm going to invite you. It's going to be a mastermind of all top agents like yourself in our ambassador program. And we'll mastermind. You'll meet top agents from the top areas in the US and in Canada. And we'll talk real estate, and you can golf too.
That's honestly, in November, that sounds incredible. You don't have to twist my arm when it comes to that.
Well, fantastic, Dorian. I appreciate your time. I really enjoyed this conversation and connecting. I look forward to seeing you here in Cabo. And for all of those that are listening that are in Toronto, which we do have clients in Toronto, Look him up. He's up and coming superstar, already a superstar. Thank you for your time, Dorian.
Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's always nice connecting with guys who absolutely crush it around the world. So I appreciate it. And I'm very happy to finally have, met you virtually. And in November, I hope I get to meet you in person.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, that was a great podcast with Dorian Rodrigues, and hopefully I'll see him here for the first time in Cabo in November. And until the next podcast with the top real estate agent in the States or in Canada, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.